Good afternoon, young people of South Atlantic Conference. Good afternoon, all of our friends and supporters who are watching all over the country. I am Dr. Donovan Washington, Youth Director of the Great South Atlantic Conference, and you have arrived at our noon hour current events and hot topics roundtable here at the South Atlantic Conference Youth and Young Adult Virtual Camp Meeting. It's entitled this year, Hope Beyond the Headlines. Yesterday was our first day coming on, talking about current events and hot topics, and boy, did we have a time. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time talking about topics that are very important to young people and to young adults. We talked about the Uvalde school shooting and how that made us feel, and there was a lot of great impact there. And we want to interact with you today. Now, before we get started, a few things. If you want to get in contact with me, this is how you can reach me. You have my email address there and my social media handle. I'm on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You can find me everywhere. Please connect with me and let's interact during the week, particularly if you want to participate. We want to hear from you. Secondly, if you're watching the broadcast today, we're asking if you would share it. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and share it on your Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and share the link with someone. Let them know that we're gathering today for our current events and hot topics roundtable, and they don't want to miss out. We are here every day this week during Hope Beyond the Headlines at noon. And then on the evenings, we have a 6 o'clock worship service that is out of sight. Last night, Pastor Farron preached a word from on high. The Walker sisters from Ridgeland, South Carolina, blessed our soul. You don't want to miss tonight. My co-host is Danita Roy out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We're going to have music from the dynamic Jasmine Jones. And our speaker tonight is Pastor Jeremiah Sapolin, right out of Atlanta. So thank you for joining us. Go ahead and check in. If you're here, tell us what church you're from. Tell somebody that we're on. Very soon, we're about to get into our icebreaker. You guys loved the icebreaker yesterday. We talked about favorite breakfast cereals. And I think my list was right. I had grits with butter and salt in the number one spot. But some of y'all had some crazy stuff. Let's see what we get into today. I'm glad I'm not alone today, though. I have some wonderful friends, some leaders in youth ministry, some people that you've seen around the conference throughout the years here with me today. First of all, I have my good friend, Amanda Ellison. Amanda, why don't you take some time to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and just greet everybody this morning as we get ready for our current events roundtable.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Don, for inviting me to be here, and hello to the South Atlantic Conference. As he stated, my name is Amanda Ellison. I have been in the church my entire life. So, of course, I'm a Pathfinder and a Master Guide at heart. Other than that, I am a teacher during the day, and I'm also a mother and a wife, and the things that I love to do or passionate about is working with the young people, no matter if that's within my professional career or if that's within the church. So that's just a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Amanda. And y'all should know, Amanda was one of my favorite people on the planet. I think she's a dynamic leader. I think she's a great teacher and just great people. So, Amanda, thank you for joining us on today. And now I'm going to bring up a South Atlantic legend, one of the heroes of South Atlantic Conference, a great gospel veteran, my good friend, former youth director of the South Atlantic Conference, current children's ministries director of the South Atlantic Conference, Pastor Daryl Howard. Pastor Howard, tell everybody about yourself and go ahead and greet the people in your own way.
Amen. Amen. I feel a little older after that introduction, but it's a joy to be here. Thank you, Dr. Washington, and hello to Amanda as well, and for your ministry. Uh, we're excited just to be a part of the helping young people just to grow relationships with Jesus Christ. I have 5 adult children, and currently, I'm working on my doctorate at Andrews University, and I recently got engaged. So life is
Yes.
moving forward.
Yes, yes, yes. Congratulations on that. Your fiance is indeed a wonderful person, and we are excited and happy for you. Thank you, everyone who's on Facebook and YouTube who are joining us live. Spread the word. We're about to get started, and today we're going to start with our icebreaker just to get us going. Now, these first 2 days, we're talking about food. Yesterday, we talked about the top 10 breakfast cereals. Okay. Golden Grams made the list. Captain Crunch made the list. I put in at number 8 any cereal that's generic that comes in the plastic bag.
No,
Okay. Because let me tell you something, those cereals are
no.
delicious. They're delicious. And listen, I guess what makes them taste even better is that they're affordable. You know, who needs Captain Crunch when you can get Lieutenant Munch? Who needs that? Who needs Captain Crunch when you can get King Vitamin? Those are some of the best cereals ever. But we settled on grits at number 1, and we settled on oatmeal at number 2. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our icebreaker of today. We are going with the top 10 desserts. Top 10 desserts. Now, let me tell you something. I had to, dessert is one of those words I had to double check the spelling because at first I had the top 10 deserts. Okay. But this is the top 10 desserts. My list is impeccable. My list is beyond compare. I dare you to debate with this list. This list is the definitive top 10 dessert list. Keisha Horton, we like to welcome you watching on YouTube from New Hope and Pageland. You go ahead and tell your pastor, Pastor Newbill, to jump on this. He had a lot to say yesterday. We want to hear what he has to say on today. So let's go over it. Let's go over it. And I will start at number 10. Okay. Saints of the living God, the number 10 all-time dessert is oatmeal raisin cookies. Now, not the hard ones that break your teeth either. They have to be the soft ones. Come on, somebody out there, say amen. You can't have a dessert list without oatmeal raisin cookies. You can't have a fellowship dinner without a tray that doesn't have oatmeal raisin cookies on it. I'm going to move to number 9, ginger snaps. Now, not the generic ginger snaps. It can't be Food Line or Kroger or Bilo ginger snaps. I forget the brand, but there's a delicious brand of ginger snaps out there where you can't just eat one. And for those who don't know what ginger snaps are, I feel sorry for you. Then you got chocolate chip cookies. Okay. Now, these can be hard, soft batch, any kind. This is a classic dessert. Some would say it has to be higher, but chocolate chip cookies made the list. We got folk jumping on already. I see Sister Devereaux is here with us as well, talking about banana pudding and key lime pie. No.
I
Banana
agree.
pudding is
Yeah.
too consistent. Key lime pie is disgusting. Okay?
Oh,
Nobody
that's
wants
disrespectful.
key lime pie. I'm going to come to our panel in a minute. Pastor Quinn Cousins already jumped on talking about banana pudding is the Lord's will. Fight me. I will fight you. All right. I will fight you, Quinn. All right. That is foolishness. Number 7, we got brownies. Brownies. Everybody loves brownies. A good fudgy brownie, you can't mess that up. Okay. Number 6, I didn't say pumpkin pie. I said sweet potato pie. Okay. Pumpkin pie is not the Lord's will, Pastor Cousins. But sweet potato pie, okay? Sweet potato pie is a blessing. Pastor Cousin says yes, it is. Okay. Now I couldn't decide on ice cream, but your favorite ice cream is number 5. That would be cruel to leave ice cream off the list. And I didn't say sherbet. Okay, sherbet is disgusting. Okay, sherbet was brought to us by the colonizers. All right, but ice cream gets the job done. Keisha says, I'd like to move chocolate chip cookies to number 2 and delete the caramel cake and add good old lemon pound cake. Keisha, this is youth ministries. You sound like you're 75 years old. No, we can't move caramel cake and put lemon pound cake. We can't do that. All right. Then we have peach cobbler with a good crust on it. Apple pie. What's as American as apple pie? Caramel cake, and then chocolate cake. Amanda, what do you think about my list? Let's get your point of view about the definitive dessert list.
Okay. What I would like to say is that your list has a lot of strengths, but we also have some weaknesses here. So let's go with these ginger snaps. Let's just snap them on out. No one eats ginger snaps. You're calling other people old, but we don't eat ginger snaps.
Oh, I love them.
So the ginger snaps are gone, and I do believe we had someone said a banana pudding. Let's go ahead and put that banana pudding in the place of the ginger snaps, and let's bring that peach cobbler on down because the caramel cake also has to go.
Oh.
And I think we might have a better list with those changes.
Okay. For those who are just tuning in, we're doing our icebreaker today. We're talking about the top 10 desserts. We already have dissension in the ranks with Sister Ellison. Already have dissension in the ranks. She's letting us know that's a problem. My pastoral colleagues are turning on me. Ginger snaps is not a dessert. I just feel betrayed. Pastor Howard, bring some sanity to us. Give me your input on the top 10 list today.
Well, first of all, as we look at the Bible and the spirit of prophecy, we understand that ginger is good for the body, but when it's mixed with sugar then it's baked, it has a neutralizing effect. So it should be removed from the list. And we definitely should add some banana puddings because bananas were made in the garden. Okay. So, and you can't beat my mama's banana pudding. The other thing is, I would also say that we need to take 1 and 2 caramel and chocolate cake and put those together or whatever, and then make room for the number 1 pound cake. There's nothing better than Sister Rick's pound cake in Dublin, Georgia. All right. I'm telling you. And then I would move oatmeal raisin cookies up a little bit because those are the bomb.
Okay. So we're the same. What does this sign say?
No ginger.
Let me zoom in on you. Put that sign back up. What does it say?
No ginger snaps.
Oh, that's just
they're
blasphemy.
gone. They're out.
Blasphemy.
They don't make the list.
All right, Sister Hendricks is checking in from Savannah, West Broad, and she said pound cake for the win.
Those are righteous and holy people. She is righteous and holy.
Let me tell you something. Pound cake can be dry. You get the wrong pound cake. Wrong pound cake is dry. Okay, and nobody don't want no dry pound. I shouldn't have to drink some milk to enjoy my dessert. Okay, so that just doesn't happen. Nicole is checking in on YouTube. She says raisins are evil, but then she has the nerve to say add peanut butter cookies. Peanut butter cookies will never make this top 10 list. What do y'all say about raisins and peanut butter cookie?
I'll keep the raisin cookie over the peanut butter for sure. Sorry, Nicole.
Nah, you talk about dry. They can be as dry as the hills of Gilboa. Then we have Pastor Boswell checking in out of the Great Mount Olive Church in East Point. He says it's blasphemous that there's no peanut butter
Right.
cookies. Let me tell you something. I don't want no salty dessert. I don't want no salty. I bet you eat cheese and crackers for dessert too. No way, man. No way. Okay, we can't have peanut butter cookies on here. I veto peanut butter cookies. Look at old Sister Washington checking in. My wife, German chocolate cake. That's throw up.
Yes.
No, it's throw. It looks like throw up. German chocolate cake, carrot cake, and blackberry cobbler. Well, honey, just sit on the porch with your Bengay and your icy hot and enjoy your blackberry cobbler along with the rest of the golden age society. Okay.
And if you need to come by my house later on, Dr. Washington, because you don't have a place for dinner.
All right. Pastor Cousins is telling me to pray. Sister Horton said you haven't had my pound cake. Now listen. I would love to come to Pageland and have some pound cake. All right. I would be honored. And you can send all pound cakes to the South Atlantic Conference. Pastor Howard and I will receive that with joy. Let's see what Sister Melba says. How about Caribbean black cake? Pastor Howard, what you know about that?
Is that the same as rum cake? Well, I know about that rum cake.
I wouldn't know anything about rum.
Yeah. Now, but see, the rum evaporates.
Is that right?
And it said a little wine is good for the stomach's sake. So we have to just remember those things. It has medicinal purposes. And so we're going to pray. We're going to pray over that black cake. But go back to that pound cake by Sister Ricks. That's what I want to focus on.
Okay. And Sister Melba has let us know. It says it's like fruit cake, but fruit is fine. Okay. All right. Well, at least we got clarity on this. Well, I could see now there's a lot of delusion taking place in the world. I believe my list is definitive. I'm surprised I didn't get much support for caramel cake. Yeah, I guess you guys have not had a good caramel cake. But for this icebreaker today, this is my suggestion for top 10 desserts. Folks, I think there's consensus that my ginger snaps got to go and banana pudding is put on this list.
Gotta go.
That's what everybody seems to be saying, that banana pudding. I think banana pudding is overrated. I think y'all be using them generic cookies in banana pudding when you're only supposed to use Nabisco Nella wafers in them. You can't use generic cookies in banana pudding. Here's Pastor Boswell again talking about red velvet cake.
Oh, that was a strong one. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Isn't that bitter?
No, we can go ahead and take off
No,
apple pie.
no, you have
You
mercy.
said apple pie, Amanda?
Yeah, it can go for the red velvet.
No way. Apple pie. That's blasphemy. You can't take apple pie off the top 10 desserts.
Gotta go.
And everybody's talking about.
But we can take out caramel cake. Yeah.
Oh, caramel cake was already gone.
Oh, good.
Okay,
And yeah, we can put some chocolate chips in the oatmeal raisin cookies and then make space for the red
Melba,
velvet.
I'm not trying to insult you. She said I'm insulting. I'm not trying to insult you. Pastor Boswell, looks like you got a new member of your church. Okay, that you're about to somebody's about to join your church. And then I've never even heard of this butter pecan cake. I've never heard of that, man.
Yeah.
Pastor Boswell, you're a snack connoisseur. I'd never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good debate. Good debate. Not as feisty as the cereal debate, but it's a good debate. Thank y'all so much for sharing in our icebreaker today. And I'll send out my address to invite me to sample all these desserts that I have not heard about. We want to have a little fun. And we go, oh, look, we're trying to close out the icebreaker, and you got people still coming in. Here's Danita Roy talking about banana pudding, okay? And then here's somebody saying honey bun cake. Anybody heard of honey bun cake?
Have mercy.
I never heard of honey bun cake.
No, that's a new one.
But
we're going to have to go to Rock Hill. That's all I know. We're going.
Listen, man, all the comments are coming out of Rock Hill.
Hey.
That district.
I,
Pastor Newbill is
I
not going to be
see
able to lose
why.
any weight. All right, all
Oh
right.
no,
Well,
no,
well,
he's
folks,
not
this was
going
a
back into the military. He will not be
yeah,
going back.
he's done. This is a lot of fun, but the point of our current events and hot topics roundtable is for us to discuss things in a safe place that may not be discussed in the church. Yesterday, we talked about the Uvalde school shooting and got a lot of good input on that. We thank you for joining us. We have more people watching us right now. You can share this. You can let someone know that we're on Facebook and YouTube. We want to hear from you today. We're going to cover a couple of topics today, but first, we're going to be talking about the effects of COVID-19 and how it affected young people. I think COVID-19 had a disproportionate effect on young people. And I just happen to have two professionals here with me today who work with young people on an everyday basis. So they may have some observations. We're coming out of the worst of the pandemic, but the effects still linger on how it deals with young people. Now, these are not just professionals, they're parents, they're grandparents, and they have some insights on how COVID affected their kids. Pastor Howard, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you talk about what you saw COVID doing to young people, not just beyond health, but psychologically, emotionally during the pandemic, and how they're coping with it right now? The floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you again, Dr. Washington. Yeah, it was very heartbreaking at time to see uh, young people and the children deal with COVID. I personally, like I said, firsthand had that experience in my immediate family with my grandson. Logan had COVID, and it was interesting how the reaction to it and the family and how you want to show love. Uh, and you have to remind children that COVID, they didn't get COVID because they did something bad. You know, a lot of times children relate their something negative happened to them because of something they did. It was not because of them, but it's just the environment and the times that we live in. So you have to give them positive psychological reassurance, uh, and let them know that it's temporary and that it can be supportive. Also, we visited a lot of schools, and we did see the impact of COVID in conjunction with educators as well as the students. And then finally, the other big thing that I know children I spoke with was about the fellowship. That probably hurt as much as anything because they were isolated and they went through almost 2 years academically, and they did not grow on a social basis because they did not have that interaction.
Wow. Wow. Folks, we're talking about how COVID affected young people and now how we're coming out of the pandemic. What are you seeing in young people? We welcome your commentary in the chat. Why don't you put in the comments and we'll display them and we'll read your comments about what you're seeing about COVID, young people, and them coming out. Amanda, you are an educational professional. You're a mother. What were your observations?
I'm going to piggyback off on the last comments that were made, Professor Howard. So the social aspect was really important because, in my opinion, they were really hit hard there. They do have issues with simply be able to communicate properly, not only with their peers, but with, teachers, possibly even parents, just depending on the home that they've come from. Within the school, we have seen a lag in academics. They are struggling with basic concepts that they didn't get because they were in and out of school, brick and mortar versus virtual for 2 years or so. And so the teachers are having to slow down curriculum because they are trying to build their foundation back because they miss really important things. So it's kind of sad and heartbreaking to a certain degree, but I don't think anything that cannot be fixed. as far as my own child, we were both bunkered down here in this apartment.
Yeah.
Both of us were educating or being educated virtually. And it's not easy because you have to create a schedule and keep them still engaged. So, COVID has definitely had a very big impact on our young people.
Are you all still cautious, or is it just let them go? I mean, as we think about the upcoming school year, Amanda, do you think your school is going to take a conservative approach? I know you're in South Carolina and the rules are, maybe a little different than a more liberal state. But just talk to us about what you anticipate to see in the new year. Are kids more cautious? Are they more likely to wear masks? Are they more reserved? Or are they ready to break free?
Oh no, we have been living our best lives for the
Wow.
last few months. And as a teacher, it kind of upset me because I wanted to make sure that I was protected and that our kids were protected. But once they lifted that, McMaster's lifted that the release on the our mask and then how many people could be in the building, we're pretty much back full capacity as if COVID never even existed.
Pastor Howard, in the fall, do you think children will be returning to your public programming? Do you have plans for public programming, or will you be taking a conservative approach?
We still, at South Atlantic, are taking a conservative approach. Even right now, in the midst of camp meeting, this program, we would be in person in Orangeburg, but we've decided still to go virtual. And looking forward to towards the fall, it just really depends on the numbers. I really think that, like, it's like when you are holding somebody's head underwater and they've been under there for a while, they just want to come out.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I may get it, I may not get it, but I'm going to try to enjoy some life, you know. And I think that's a lot of people have that kind of attitude as they look at it. The numbers are going back up, but we don't have, I think, as a nation now, as much fear. We've learned how to manage it. If I get COVID, I know to isolate for 5 days. I know to take my vitamins, things of that nature. Just this week, I had a very close friend to die from COVID. And it's every time you hear about it, it's a sting and it hurts. But we have to let our children know that they can be productive. I personally prefer to wear my mask when I go out, just because so many are not wearing anything and you really don't know who's been vaccinated. You know, it'd be different if all of us were vaccinated and boosted up and everything. It'll be a little easier, but that is one of those challenges.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of vaccine hesitancy within the church and minority communities. Speaking of minorities, let's go ahead and pivot to another topic to close our discussion today. Not long ago, a man got up, drove hundreds of miles to a researched and known Black community, walked into a grocery store and killed 10 Black people, the Buffalo shooting. Over the past few years, this is not an isolated example of domestic terrorism against people of color and particularly Black people. It seems that this type of violence is on the rise and it affects our young people. I wanted to ask Amanda, Pastor Howard, for young people and even for you, where do you think we stand when it comes to race relations? Where do you think we are in dealing with race in 2022? Some people say young people are dealing with it better. They are more diverse. They're more likely to deal with other races. There are other individuals who say it's the worst it's ever been. I feel like we've gone in a wayback machine and we're going back. There seems to be a lot of hatred coming from the other side towards Black and brown people. I'm asking our audience as well, where do you think we stand, particularly when it comes to young people, with race relations? Give me your feelings on the Buffalo shooting first, and then pivot into race relations. Amanda, we're going to begin with you. Give your thoughts on the Buffalo shooting and how nefarious that was, and then go ahead and pivot to race relations and young people. And we love your input, everybody. We want to hear your comments on this as well.
As far as the Buffalo shooting, you know, it's tragic and it's nothing new, which is still mind-boggling to me in the year of 2022.
Yeah.
Why are we still having these types of issues? What do we need to do as a country, as states, as smaller communities to make an impact? I don't get it. I don't understand it, because I would never, even if it's someone who I do not like, I don't feel the need to take anybody's life, especially if it's over race. But as far as young people are concerned, I teach 8th grade. So I'm around, 13, 12-year-olds. And my experience that I've seen and I've had, they are unaware of our past, where we've come from and where we would like to go. And so they take things a lot more lightly. They don't take them as seriously because they're uneducated. And is that because of our systems and because our history books have been whitewashed? I don't know, but they are more accepting. But I think that acceptance is a lack of ignorance. I would love for our younger people to have a better understanding and would have that 1960s attitude towards really marching forward for race relations and being more mobilized in the communities and doing good things. But as of right now, race relations are what they are. I do not see them changing too much. Other than honestly being more violent, unfortunately.
Wow. Can we, before I go to you, Pastor Howard, can we stay there for a minute? Something you said stood out to me, in that race relations may seem to be better with the younger generation, but it's because of ignorance. It's because of they really don't know where we've come from. Even in the church, we hear a lot of, well, why can't we do stuff with the white church? Why can't we merge conferences? Why can't we just be one? And I don't think there's an awareness of history. It is no coincidence that there's an effort to hide history, to not talk about critical race theory, to not pull down Confederate statues and talk about the true meaning of it. Whether it's in the comments or whether both of you want to answer this, why do you think there's such an effort to hide history from young people?
Well, I would just chime in real quick. And I think, first of all, our hearts still go out for all of those victims and the mass shootings, and we're lifting them up in prayer. The reality that our young people don't know their history is partially because in our systems, we're trying to move forward. So we're focusing on computer, technology, all these type of things versus just the history of where you've been. Coming up in the 70s, I found that it was necessary to talk about the 60s because we had just went through that. But now, even with my children, even being raised in the 90s and early 2000s, we really didn't go back that much. We had Black History Month, but everything was in the context of positivity. Ever since the previous president,
or just Martin Luther King. That's it.
Yeah. Ever since the previous president, he has ignited this surge that talks about the aspects of superiority, of race and things of that nature, and quote unquote, make America great again and all of that. And what is really amazing to me about this race relation is you look at many of the shooters are under the age of 30.
Yeah.
So it'd be different if you told me there was a 65 or 70-year-old Caucasian man,
who was alive back in the day.
Yes. And his father worked with Hitler or something, anything. Tell me something. But when you tell me somebody's 19 and they're doing this, they got all this information off the internet primarily.
Or they were taught.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is the fear that I have as a country, that we cannot heal until we find a way to work through the negativity.
Yeah.
And blacks can be upset, but yet we're moving forward with our lives. We're not pivotal just on Martin Luther King and the struggle, but we also celebrate LeBron James and Oprah Winfrey and Barack Obama, and we let life grow. And we teach our children they can be anything they want to.
We're
let
resilient.
them lead them.
People.
Yeah. Whereas the other concept is like, you got to live in fear because you're going to be shot at when you go to church or school.
Mercy.
Or the grocery store. Mercy. I can't even get a bag of M&Ms now.
Go ahead, Amanda.
I'm sorry. Regular M&Ms or wants the peanuts? Which one?
I wanted the peanuts, and I can't even go to the store.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey, we're done with desserts, y'all. Come on now.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And I'm slightly going to take it in a different direction with this comment, but because Pastor Howard did make a point of the people who are doing these shootings, they are younger people. And yes, I do believe part of their makeup is influence, and that hate is coming from either within their home or maybe it's within some type of social group. I don't know from where the hate is coming. However, a big issue is not only the hate, but is mental stability. And that is something that is plaguing our country, our world at this point in time. We do have these other issues, but you have to make sure that you're looking at it in the context of where is that person's mental. So that's my contribution to that thought.
Excellent point. Let's go to the comments and get some insight from some of our viewers. Keisha says, I agree, Amanda. They don't view race relations as we do, and they are dumbfounded when you explain it to them. All mine are grown, but we are still in a different area. I think generationally, and I agree with you, Keisha, there is a disconnect. There is a disconnect because there is a concerted effort to hide certain things from young people. Even in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they have no idea why we have separate conferences. No idea. They've never heard of the Lucy Byard story. Amanda's saying she never heard of that. For example, Lucy Byard is a woman who was light-skinned, went to an Adventist hospital to get service. When they found out she was black, they kicked her out, and she eventually died. And that sparked regional conferences. All right, because we weren't accepted. So some people think, hey, black people just like black people and white people just like white people. Why don't we just put it aside? There's a history behind it. And a lot of young people, Keisha, indeed don't know the history. And if they knew, they would move a little differently. Nicole says our history is painful, but necessary. It needs to be taught at home. Juneteenth, Black History Month are great opportunities to learn history. And it's not to be bitter or to be stuck in the mud, but then you'll begin to realize how much race permeates our society. When I worked on my doctoral project, I was stunned to know that our modern political system is based off something called the Southern Strategy, that Richard Nixon intentionally catered to racists and white supremacists and those who wanted to secede because they still miss slavery. And he catered to those people, which created the modern Republican Party. And those dog whistles are still here today. Gene says, and Danita, I don't know where you're. Oh, here's Danita's comment. Let's read Danita's comment. Danita Roy says, in response to the shootings, it's a sad and sensitive topic. As a school counselor, I believe churches and schools and communities need to do more. Our youth show signs of help, crying out for it. We need more teaching of emotions, controlling those things, preaching and teaching the healing power of God. We need unity to be shown and not just talked about. I think Danita is hitting on some themes that Amanda talked about earlier. And it's a partnership between parents, schools, the mental health community, and churches, partnering together to promote that healing mentally as we deal with some of the PTSD that comes from race relations. Pastor Howard made a joke, but it's real. You're scared to go in the stores now. You can't go to a church and not look around and make sure everybody's on the up and up, you know? When you go out in public, you have to be aware. And that brings a lot of stress that requires healing. Nicole says, our history is painful but necessary and needs to be taught at home. Gene Smith says, why don't we as a church be responsible for teaching our history in classes just as we do Bible study? And let me tell you the sad truth, Sister Smith, a lot of our churches still got pictures of white Jesus up. So we can't talk about teaching history when we got Leo DiCaprio as Jesus or Charlton Heston as Moses on the wall. You know, these weren't white folk. You know, there's a funny meme that the young people pass around and they say, tell me one thing that people think is in the Bible and is not. And the answer that the young people said is white people. Listen, all of our Bible heroes were melanated. Only white folk were the Romans and Pilate and them. That's it. All of our Bible here, but we don't want to be taught that because it puts something in young people that doesn't exist. Nicole says, unfortunately, racist parents and grandparents pass down hatred and is exasperated by online hate groups that are so accessible. And young people spend a lot of time online. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of hatred that takes place. Peggy Roy says, right, I heard of the segregation stories, but we're living in a day and time that we need to move on. Heaven won't be separated or segregated. It won't be. Now, even though heaven won't be segregated, that doesn't mean there doesn't need to be a reckoning on earth. Okay? We can't be so heavenly minded about race relations that we don't address it and discuss it and stand up for it. And last but not least, thank you for that history. Can't wait to share that with my children, where there's more where that comes from. You all have seen the comments, Pastor Howard. Amanda, what is some of your reaction to the comments?
I actually have a question, and it's more of a rhetorical question than an actual question. So we talked about our different conferences, our white conference versus our Black conference. What is keeping us from coming together? Do we want to come together? Can we come together? Where are we in that? Has that even been a discussion?
All right. Well, you asked it. I'm going to go ahead and share it. And this happens to be my area of expertise, what I wrote my doctorate on. And for those who like to look it up, the name of my doctorate is addressing the obstacles to racial inclusivity in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And there are some obstacles. Number one, we are the only people who want unity. It's only Black people who think the ice is colder on the other side, who are begging to be included and for us to be one. That's number one. There is no phenomenon called Black flight. Okay? There is no phenomenon. If other races come to our church, we accept them, we welcome them, they're integrated into our fabric. When Black faces show up on the other side's church, those folk leave. Okay? Did you know there is not one homogeneous white church in Atlanta? Not one. All of them have fled to the far suburbs. And then we find them there and they run again. The burden on integration, if it was left to Black people, it would have already happened. Okay? It's not wanted on the other side. Mm-hmm. We're the only race that think that being around another race elevates us. Think of where we want to live. Nobody wants to live in black neighborhoods. They'll say, I want to move into a white neighborhood. That's better for me. All right. Because we've been brainwashed to think white folks' ice is colder and their stuff is better. We feel elevated when white people accept us. It's a slave mentality. Okay. Secondly, and I put this in my book, if there was a deer convention, the animal, a bunch of deer, at that convention, they could care less if lions attend. Lions can't be permitted to the deer convention until they make amends for chasing them down and eating their families for all the years, okay? Then the lions can come to the deer convention. And there has to be someone who makes amends for the injustices that have taken place to black and brown people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. That's why black conferences still exist today, because who would minister to the hood if it wasn't for us? Who would address the needs of black people if it wasn't for us? And I'm an agent of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'm a pastor in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I love the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but there needs to be reconciliation. There needs to be an acknowledgement of injustices before we all come together and just sing Kumbaya. All right. We black folk, Hispanic folk, we're not the perpetuators of injustice. There's a dark history and we need to make it right. Okay. We need to make it right. But last but not least, not only is there white flight, not only does there need to be reconciliation, for us to truly come together, there has to be equity. There has to be equity. We are not joining y'all's system. We are coming together. Equal leadership opportunities, equal financial division, equal opportunity. Okay. We can't go into a system where someone's at the head and we're under another colonized white supremacist system. Now, when we get to heaven, every nation, kindred, and tongue is going to be there. So that lets me know prophetically, we're going to figure this thing out. We're going to be there. We're going to be there together. But while we're here on earth, the onus of making this right has to be on the perpetuators of the injustice. So those are a few reasons, Amanda. I'll send you a copy of my book so you can check it out for even more reasons and more history. And Brother Ron, I like that analogy too of the deer and the lion. Hey, listen, Mr. Lion, you got to give us some assurances before you come to the deer convention, or it's going to be a mess all over again. All right.
Okay. One other thing, real quick, too, Dr. Watson, is that we not only look at the race and issues of that, but the other big issue is dealing with the financial. And even within our church, we have become a multi-million-dollar organization. And so when people come to the table, the big question is who's going to manage the funds? And but I really would love to see us do more in evangelism as a church. I see the ideal church at the Pathfinder Camporee. When we go to Oshkosh, we see every nationality all together, one spot, and we're all doing the same thing. And many of our schools, same thing. When it comes to education, we do a lot of things together. Now, one barrier we really haven't broken down is that many blacks attend the white Adventist universities, but the Caucasians don't come to Oakwood. They don't send their children to Pine Forge, whereas we look at Christian education as Christian education, period. And where we can afford to go and where we can get quality education for our children, Adventist education. So we support all of the various universities all across North America. You will find blacks and Hispanics involved. But you cannot say that in conjunction with Oakwood. And so that's the foundation of that is, like you say, we have to make sure we get to the table and that we can overcome those obstacles to make the church whole.
Yeah, because racism has no place in Adventism. I don't know many people who are anti-white, who promote racism. We want to do things together, but there is a sinister undertone where while the Jamaicans and the Haitians and the African Americans are crying for diversity and unity, we're the only ones crying for that. It's not reciprocal. And we have to open our eyes and quit being simps about it and realize that sometimes we're not wanted at the table. But I believe, let me end on an optimistic note. I believe with Jesus coming again, this time of trouble is going to bind us together like never before. And every race will find themselves on the same side as we usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Our time has escaped us.
Yeah.
But this has been a lively discussion. I want to thank, first and foremost, Amanda Ellison for joining us today. Feel free to reach out to her at any time. That's her Instagram handle. You can find her on other social media as well. Brilliant young lady. Before COVID took away junior camp, she was one of my best leaders at junior camp. Okay, really helped hold the ship together. Her and our cousin Sean Cameron. We thank God for her, and she's the best. Any parting words, Amanda?
Just want to put a shout out there for Sean Cameron, Danita, Jasmine. One day we'll be back at camp again.
One day we will definitely return. I also want to thank my mentor, my friend, Pastor Daryl Howard, who since I've been young has given me an opportunity to serve. Before I was employed in ministry, he opened doors for me, allowed me to preach in different places, showed me the way. A lot of my youth ministry that I do, I pattern after his ministry. And so I owe you, man. I thank you so much for your example, for your godly demeanor. Any parting words you'd like to share with the young people?
I would tell the young people to be encouraged. The race is not to the swift, and that what we have to do is just keep Christ in our hearts, show kindness in the midst of fear and racism, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to defeat this ugly animal, not only in society, but sometimes even in our church. And so be encouraged, and thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for the work you do, Dr. Washington, and to your lovely family. And thank you again, Amanda, for what you do in helping our young people across the South Atlantic Conference.
I want to thank everybody for joining us at our current events roundtable and hot topics discussion. We've had a good time today. Our icebreaker was a lot of fun, and we have a new and innovative icebreaker for you on tomorrow. In addition to that, tonight at 6:00, right here at the same place, we have our vibrant worship service. You don't want to miss out on Jasmine Jones singing for us. Danita Roy will be co-hosting, and then we'll have a message from Pastor Jeremiah Sapolin tonight, 6:00 on these very same channels. Spread the word for us. We hope you're enjoying Hope Beyond the Headlines, our virtual camp meeting 2022. We long for the day where we can be in Orangeburg again and be there, but we're taking the safe route this year. But indeed, we will return. Young people, God bless you. It's the joy of my life to serve you. Parents, supporters, thank you for being a part of this program today. Everybody who's in the comments leaving things, we thank you. Sister Melba has not let our hot topics go. Still pushing for banana pudding. Still pushing for banana pudding. And it looks like I'm going to have to give in to that. Baran, I just want to, or Sister Ra, I don't know how that first name is pronounced. We are here every day for this week at noon. Same channels, Facebook, YouTube, every day at noon. And then in the evenings, we're there at 6 o'clock. Okay. In the evenings, we're at 6 o'clock. We're on South Atlantic Facebook, South Atlantic YouTube, and South Atlantic Youth YouTube. You don't want to miss it. Share this broadcast with somebody so we can continue these current events and hot topic discussions among our young people. Love you all. God bless you. And never forget that if God be for us, who can be against us? See you tonight at 6, tomorrow at noon. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Pastor Howard. God bless you all.
All right.